You're recording. Go ahead, Mom.
Taylor's my RJ. Well, you guys, thanks tons for coming. And basically, just quickly, I found Dr. Carolyn in an interview. And when she started talking about her machine and what it does and the fact that it recharges every single cell in your body and kicks the mitochondria into gear, and it had all the Rife settings and it had scalar waves, and that was just my world. And all I can tell you is divinely, I just heard get it, and I got it. I'm so glad I did. But what she's going to do today is kind of give you the background on how she came about, how this machine came about, where her medical path was. And then what we want to do is once she gives you guys enough background explanation, we're leaving it open for personalized settings. So she won't need the background of your history. She'll just need, I have XYZ, or what are the settings? You can do it for friends or family. And what would be your suggested settings? And then she will be in front of the machine and she'll be recommending settings. You can write them, but Taylor will have them recorded and then we can type them up later. Okay, so that's what we're doing. You guys are in for a treat. This is super cutting edge. There's only 3 other doctors in San Diego County that have this. So this is how people will start to heal in the future that are in this world. So this is a super, super great treat. Sheila, hi, sweetie. So Dr. Carolyn, I am going to let you take it away from there. We're almost home stretch here. Just grabbing somebody.
Grabbing what?
Somebody a pen. Important things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for spending this time today with me. I hope I can give you a lot of valuable information and share the technology that is my passion. This machine is my baby. It's my life's work. And I kind of came into it down a long path. I was raised in traditional medicine. All the women in my family are medical doctors. And by the time I was 5, I wanted to be one. And by the time I was 12, I was fully grown. I grew really fast and just stopped. So my aunt, she was an amazing physician and she did family practice. She had a specialty in peds, but she worked in a small town. So she did everything. And a lot of emergency works, all the surgeries, all kinds of things. So when I was 12, she kind of put me to the litmus test, see if I was really serious about being a doctor, and probably to see how I did with, surgery and blood and all that kind of thing, and took me in to see my very first surgery, which was a colon resection, partial. And I thought it was fascinating. So she started letting me spend more and more clinical time with her. Couldn't, of course, go into the ER, but I got to see a lot of deliveries, again, all the clinical time. And I was absolutely sure that was the path I wanted to be on. And learned as much as I could from her, learned as much as I could from books. And I was on my path to go to medical school. And I just had this aha moment. I'm like, how come we are only using drugs in surgery and the drugs have so many side effects? We're never addressing the root of the problem. And so I took a hard right and went into naturopathic medicine. And I realized when I got done that there was still so much more I had to learn about nutrition. So I ended up going back and getting my master's in nutrition. And I was very happy practicing. But I was discouraged by the fact that I was prescribing handfuls of pills to people, even though they were, natural, even though they were homeopathic and herbal and all these other things that were better for the body than pharmaceuticals. It was still, a handful 3 times a day is still inundating the system. Everything you put in your mouth has to be processed by the liver, even all the supplements. So I started studying energy medicine, became a Reiki master, and started studying Rife frequencies. And there's just a ton of information out there on the history of frequency medicine. It's been so heavily researched by Rife, by Hilda Clark, by many others. There's ancient tones. I got into Eastern medicine, started studying about all the chakras, and if they're blocked, the energy is blocked there, it actually causes a certain set of organs to have dysfunction. So in integrating all of this in my practice, I had great success, and people driving, I lived in a little town in Hood River, Oregon, but I had people driving up from Vancouver and Portland and down from Seattle. And I felt like I was making a difference, but only one person at a time. So I wanted to create something that could be a really powerful tool to put out into the world that people could share with all the people around them and make more of an impact. And that's how this came into being. I've been with sound frequency medicine or sound vibration since its inception, which is about 22 years ago, by a machine that was first made in Korea. And mechanical vibration has been out for a long time. It was first created for the space programs by the Russians to prevent bone and muscle loss in space. But that was kind of the limits of what it could do. It will shake the cells, but it won't do anything to increase the energy inside the cells. And that's really one of the greatest keys to healing. If you can get your energy inside your cells up, your cells will push away from each other. And on that surface area, there's all these sodium, potassium pumps that bring in nutrients and oxygen and get rid of waste products. So the cells, when you get your cell voltage up to -70 to -90 millivolts, your cells will actually start spontaneously healing. And that really is the way God created us, to spontaneously self-heal. So I knew that was a key. And we found that sonic whole body vibration was absolutely key in that. You can look at live blood cell analysis before and after mechanical, and there's just no change in the cells. Big difference after sonic vibration. But studying all these other frequencies, I had to figure out a way to integrate everything into one system. So 9 years ago, I got a business partner and we went into manufacturing and integrated every piece of technology that I found to be highly effective into one single system. And that's how this was born. So it's been my passion, my journey, my baby, and I'm hoping it'll help you and everybody you know. It's about as comprehensive as it can get. I don't want it to be overwhelming to anybody, but you can start with the basics, get your cell voltage up, get all the lymphatic system cleared out, get your liver re-energized. You can restart and kickstart the mitochondria. I know with long haul COVID, this has been one of the only things that has been effective. COVID did quite the damage to mitochondria. So people have had a lot of serious chronic fatigue since then. This will actually regenerate on a DNA level and regenerate your mitochondria. So you produce more ATP, you get your energy back, you start feeling better. There's also the original coronavirus SARS frequencies that help go in and clean up anything that's residual left over. And it's just amazing what you can do with the technology. It's also really effective in the veterinary industry, maybe more so than people, because some people have the mental state of mind that, yeah, this may be snake oil, this may work. And animals aren't like that. Dogs love it. They lay on it. They'll even go to sleep on it. All kinds of animals respond so much faster than most humans. So I'm really effective for that as well. So Robin?
Yes.
You wanted me to start with people's questions?
You know what? Can you give a few of examples? For instance, that long haul COVID lady is an amazing story. And you've got a couple more in there. And I think those are really great to peek and just talk about some of the settings they used.
Okay. So we had a lady with long haul COVID. She got it in 2020. And she was 80 years old when she got it. And she took about 6 months to get over it. And she's been healthy all her life. Just one of those people that has insane amounts of energy. Just go, 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 go. Positive attitude, all of that. It really knocked her down. But after about 6 months, she started feeling a little bit better. And then in 2021, she started noticing things that were off with her energy, with her mind, with her breathing. By 2022, it was getting worse. By 2023, she had been to 12 different doctors, been diagnosed with everything from chronic fatigue to COPD to nobody could come up with anything specific, though. They said, your lungs look great, your heart looks great, your blood looks great. So they just throw a umbrella diagnosis at you. So she ended up so discouraged a couple of months ago at a doctor's appointment. After being there 2.5 hours, she just gave up and she says, okay, God, I'm ready to go. She went home and her husband and her were hot tubbing that night. And she says, we have to get our affairs in order because by Christmas time, I'm not going to be here. And he was kind of desperate. And there was one couple that had our machine down not too far from them. And he thought it was snake oil, but anything to give him hope, gave her hope. So he took her over there. They text me. I had them put her on the coronavirus protocol, which is the coronavirus SARS. It is chronic fatigue, mood elevation, and I would use mood elevation for everybody that's dealing with a chronic condition because it's very, very discouraging. You want to get that serotonin up and give people hope again and some of that energy. We also did DNA repair on her with scalar waves on. And she got off the machine. She was a little teary. This couple made him get on it. He thought it was complete snake oil, but he humored him, got on it anyway. And they went home. She felt better, but she was so far down. She was barely getting out of bed. She dropped from 125 pounds, which was her normal weight, down to 104. And the next morning, he got up and went to the bathroom, and he realized halfway there that he didn't have back pain. And he'd already had 4 back surgeries. And they wanted to do a 5th down in the lumbar spine. And he said, no. But he had the first 3 steps going to the bathroom every morning where he was in excruciating pain. Made it halfway to the bathroom and realized he didn't have any pain. So they went back 4 days in a row and then bought a machine. And she started using it twice a day. But by the end of that 4 days, she said what felt like dark clouds in her lungs were just gone. And she went from barely walking, shuffling, to going down the driveway to get the mail, pulling weeds all the way back. Then all the neighbors started coming over wanting to know what was going on at that house. So they were hosting 12 to 14 people a day on the machine. And we went down and saw them, I think a couple of weeks after they got their machine, to present to this group. And she was just bouncing around, throwing the frisbee for the neighbor's dog outside, waiting on everybody. So it brought a lot of joy to my heart because it, to me, has saved a life. And we've had, other amazing stories, especially if the problem is an energy block in the body. It can move so quickly. The very first machine that we sold was to a couple that lives in Mountain Freewater, about 50 miles from here. And we checked on them about 6 months later to see how they were doing. She got it for weight loss and depression. And she was doing better and off her medication. And we asked him how he was doing. And he said, I'm good. Shoulder doesn't hurt anymore. I said, well, I didn't know your shoulder ever did hurt. But for 10 years, he'd been taking 3 ibuprofen every 3 to 4 hours for 10 years. That such a massive negative impact on the kidneys and the liver. But he'd been thrown from a horse, had the surgical repair, still had some limited range of motion, but constant pain. And because that energy block was there, it wouldn't recover. As soon as he got rid of the trauma block, it never came back. It'd been 6 months. He'd been on it 4 times. The shoulder pain was gone. And 6 months later, he still didn't have any at all. So that's when you see miraculous things, because we all go through life and pick up trauma. So emotional, mental, physical trauma, it all gets stored the same in your body. And according to Oriental medicine, blocked trauma, blocked energy, especially trauma energy, is the source of all disorder, discomfort, and disease. So moving that energy, and there's nothing better than this system, especially when you add in the ancient tones, use the scalar wave technology, it really moves the energy field in your body. And the energy field in your body is huge. I mean, your smallest particle is the atom. That's your basic building block. And it is a bundle of energy. Has the nucleus at the center, electrons spinning around it, nearly the speed of light. And that energy field in your densest part doesn't stop there. It extends out way past you. You have your physical body, your emotional body, mental body, and spiritual body. And we are all, if we are out living life, not living as monks, we are all affected by everyone else's energy, and they're affected by ours, because we have this huge sphere, this toroidal sphere of energy that's constantly circulating around us. And we're constantly emitting light, subtle energy, emotional energy, mental energy, and we're constantly bringing it in. So it's really, really important to keep that field clear. It's one of the big things for healing the body. It's really important to get your cell voltage up so your body can heal itself the way God intended it to. And then you have all the tools that were created with these amazing frequency formulas that Hilda Clark spent her life researching and developing. And the same thing with Wright. So getting all these elements into one machine makes it limitless, but you don't have to use every aspect, but there's something for everyone.
And then an abbreviation of your recent journey.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. So even with all this amazing technology, things can still happen, especially with stress. And I have had, here's my husband bringing me a chair. So thank you. I have had a lot of work stresses last year, and it really took its toll with sleep. You know, if you wake up and go to the bathroom, then your mind starts going on work and all of this stuff. And I got pretty behind on sleep, and we're just coming to the end of solving the problem. But about a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, I was at work and I had a TIA, and it took out my speech, which was terrifying to me. And I called my husband in my office and he goes, "What'd I do wrong?" But I couldn't say anything. I could make a syllable and that's it. And brought tears to my eyes because I have never faced something like that. And all I could think to do was go out and get on one of the VibraGenix and run a stroke follow-up. And I know my software better than anybody. And I stood there for 20 minutes with stroke recovery, trying to figure out what to add to that protocol to help myself. And I couldn't find anything else because nothing would compute. I couldn't think. I went back in my office. My business partner came in, took one look at me, took my hands and prayed, and then started giving me a neurological test. And he says, "You need to go to ER." And by then, though, I could say words, but just stuttering. And I was like, just a minute. And I went back out, and then I could think a little better. And I turned on the oxygen concentrator, stroke recovery, inflammation, sixth chakra, because I knew it was all going on right up here, DNA repair and scalar waves. And I knew that cognitively, at least I was starting to connect, and did 20 more minutes out there. And then sat down with my crew and I had my list and I couldn't think through. I kept reading through the items on the list and I just couldn't track. So I ended up going home, and I didn't even know a month it was. I ended up going home, and I don't remember big chunks of that day, but I have an oxygen concentrator at home. So I used those same frequencies, started taking aspirin, baby aspirin, and slept with the oxygen on. And that happened on Friday. On Monday, I went into internal medicine specialist and he ordered a bunch of tests. And it turns out that my diet has paid off. There was no plaque anywhere. Arteries look great. However, I have a structural problem in my heart. The hole that's supposed to close when you're born in the foraminal valley, mine is still perforated. So there's some shunting of the blood. And then I did have mitral valve thickening for rheumatic fever when I was little. So for me, I have never thought of this technology for emergency medicine. I have thought of it more for chronic disease and your frequency medicine cabinet. You know, if you have somebody with menstrual cramps, they can go away in moments. If you have a headache, you can run it for that. It's really good for that. If you have some chronic long-term illness, you can knock that out of your system. You can regenerate your DNA. There's so many things you can do, but I have never, ever considered it for emergency medicine until this happened to me. And I really feel like it saved me. I think it saved my life. And I'm still doing the stroke recovery frequencies. I am doing heart valve disorders and heart general, which I love that, heart chakra, a lot of stress relief, and just keep getting better. So there you go. That's my current
story.
I also went through intestinal cancer a few years ago, and I did alkalinizing the system. I just juiced. I did a ton of ginger. Ginger root is the most alkalinizing food that you can eat. And drank a lot of aloe vera, 168 gallons over like 4 months. I religiously used the frequencies and had no traditional treatment. And am good. And that, again, if you don't keep those energy centers clear, I had a lot of child abuse when I was young, and apparently I still had a lot of third chakra, second chakra stuff going on. So that's what it affects. Is if you still have trauma energy stored somewhere, it affects certain organs associated with that center. It's not woo-woo, it's actual. It's much older medicine than what we have. But, you know, from 1500 to 500 AD, it was all documented in the Vedas and what organs and malfunctions could happen with that energy center being blocked.
That's great. I love it. Well, we're going to start with questions. Does anybody have their first
Yes.
question they want to start with for? Oh, here we go. Monique. Okay, here's your mic. Oh, and mic. Just you can just hold it.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. Carolyn, right? Not Caroline.
It's Caroline. It's
Caroline,
okay.
Dr. Caroline. Hi, I'm Monique.
My husband says sweet Caroline.
Yeah, so I have a long haul COVID symptom of I've lost probably, I had COVID. I've never been vaxxed, but I had it really bad in 2020. And since then I've lost probably, 60% of my smell. I can't smell coffee anymore. I can't smell flowers. But I know I can because it's there, because every once in a while I can take a sniff and I smell it, but then it goes away immediately the second time I try to smell it, but it's very, very faint. And then my taste also has been affected. There's a lot of things I can't eat anymore that I used to be able to eat. So I want to be able to get a setting for that, as well as trauma
Okay.
from things that I've been through.
Yeah, we all need to run that, especially after the last 3 years. There's been a lot of trauma. So
I'm going
in
to take
cell
notes.
tunes,
So
okay. In cell tunes, there is a trauma release frequency panel. And it's also in Pro, but cell tunes is easier to get to, smaller program. It has all the frequencies you need for trauma. So definitely run that. I would also do ancient tones. I would do all of them, but the last one, you can count that as one panel. I would do the rejuvenation out of TBSW with the scalar waves on, because that not only brings your cell voltage up the fastest, that in combination with the machine, but it has DNA repair in there as well. And then I would run coronavirus SARS out of True Res. Is that 5? It's either 4 or 5. So I would definitely work on that. Chakras also for releasing trauma, really important, depending on what kind of trauma it was and where it's stored.
Great. And then would you rotate, like, how often should she do this? Would you recommend how many times a week?
So if I am cleaning up, if I do a fast cleanup on somebody with long haul COVID, or even right after they've had COVID, doesn't even have to be long haul, that have those kind of symptoms, I'm usually pretty progressive and have them do it every day. And I always have them do it with oxygen. Did you get an oxygen concentrator?
Not yet.
Robin?
We were talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I would focus on just that issue and knock it out of your system.
Okay.
That and the trauma together.
Okay.
But I would really focus on that. And if you can't get in there every day, I would see the minimum, if you're really trying to aggressively treat something, is 3 times a week.
Perfect.
We have amazing results at 3 times a week.
For the 20 minutes at least? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
As she said,
But every
3
day is
days-
better.
Every day if she could, or 3 days a week. Until she feels better, right? We're going by our
Yes.
symptoms and how we feel.
Yes. And your body knows. Everybody has an internal physician. Everybody does. And you'll know when that feels complete.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can move on to something else, because we're all like onions, lots of layers. We'll get done with that issue and we can address something else.
Great.
You said everybody.
All to improve.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
internal. Okay. Great. Any next one? Oh, there we go, Holly. Perfect. Here you go, Holly. Thank you.
Hi, I'm totally into frequency medicine. I think it's definitely the medicine of the future, but what I don't have an understanding yet is how do we like, how does your machine, or like, how did we come up with the frequencies? I mean, obviously they're there, we didn't make them up, but how do we gather them? Does that make sense?
Years and years of research. So Rife did an amazing job. I had to get an amazing programmer because you have to accurately convert all of the Rife and Hilda Clark frequencies into sound. Sound is the most effective means of treating the body because you're 70% water and sound travels 5 times faster through water. So you are literally affecting every single cell in your body at the same time. The other really important thing in this technology is the delivery system. And we spent 3 years perfecting that. We wind our own coils. There has to be a specific magnetic flux density that moves the plate because you are standing on voice coils. So if you took the cover off a big speaker and looked at how it moved, these are powerful enough that it actually pushes the plate with you on it. And you get incredibly accurate frequencies into the body.
And
So lots of
so,
research.
yeah. And so, I'm curious when it comes to like autoimmune diseases, for example, with, like I, for example, have lupus, but I know other people that have lupus that have a much, much different experience than I have. So is there like one lupus frequency, for example, or does it kind of vary depending on who you're working with?
Okay, so with any kind of chronic condition, I always try and look at root cause and then treat the most acute symptoms, and they all will meet in the middle. So everybody, we're all so different, and all of us, or a lot of us, had very different experiences when we got COVID. We got a different set of symptoms. Some people were similar. There's different degrees, how long it lasted, how severe it was, what organs or parts of your body it hit the hardest. And it's the same way with any other chronic disease. So definitely the root of the problem, I would do immune system stabilization. It is in TrueRes Pro. Anytime you have an autoimmune disease or allergies, you're going to want to run immune system stabilization, not stimulation, because your immune system is not balanced. So it should help bring all of that back in balance. But I totally understand you having a different experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having a TIA affecting every single person differently.
Right. Yeah. I appreciate your answer of let's get back to the root causes and address each person as an individual. So that's awesome.
And each person's most severe symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Piggybacking that on the settings, there's like lupus 1, 2, maybe even 3, same thing with Lyme. So how should we sequence through things that have, round 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, I would. You can combine them together to start with. And the other, if you have too many frequencies that you need to run in addition to that, too many other symptoms, I would pick one lupus and run it with your other 4 that are treating your other things to balance out your body. The next time you come in, do number 2. And the next time you come in, do number 3.
Perfect. Yeah. We were thinking that with Lymes and stuff. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
For people.
Judy.
Are there settings for hemochromatosis?
There might be in Hilda Clark. I would have to look. I don't think there are in Rife.
Okay.
We can look.
Okay.
Yeah, we can look that up.
That would be great.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody else quickly? Or you're definitely free to call me back. You want to talk about me amongst yourself and come up with another question? You can.
Be great. Well, I was curious if you could define really how the scalar wave works and the difference in that and a Rife frequency. Is there a difference,
Okay.
or are they?
Yeah, no, Rife frequencies are completely different. So the Rife frequencies, Hilda Clark and Rife, they did all their frequencies in electrical pulse. This is all of their frequencies converted into sound. We have 2 methods we can convert. I prefer Euler's method because it keeps the frequencies in a lower range. The scalar wave technology is completely different. It's actually been called a lot of things. So Tesla called it tachyon, and it's actually taking energy from what physicists call the point of creation or the 0 point, or you can think of it as the space in between atoms, the space inside an atom. There's an unlimited source of energy. And this is actually a scalar wave generator that is kind of like an energy antenna, if I can explain it like that. It channels all that energy through the machine that goes up into your body. The EE system is based on that. I think they have a number of frequencies, but not nearly as many as we have in our machine. But a lot of people feel like they've had a cup of coffee when they've been on the machine. I don't recommend people doing it in your bedtime. It's even with deep sleep, because it will keep you awake. Counteracts the effect. Scalar waves are wonderful technology, and I think we'll see more and more and more of that.
Well, thank you, doctor.
If you're working on something, and like I try to mix it up, and so I feel like I do certain 4 or 5 settings, and I come probably 4 or 5 times a week. And I'm just wondering, like, how long do you do a sequence before you change it up, or is it good to change it up? You know,
So if you're doing like a set of 5 things one day, a different set of 5 things the next day, a different set of 5 things the next day, and by the next week you're back to set number 1, you're not going to get nearly the results if you're trying to correct something in the body. You would be better off treating that one thing for 5 days straight, and then maybe the next week you're going to be done with that, and the next week you're going to want to focus on the next 5 things. Especially when it comes to disease process in the body, you really want to focus on that and try to get rid of it. Then you can move on.
yeah. So I had I don't know if you know what NES is, but I had that energy reading, and it said something about my kidneys and pancreas. So like I've been running that setting, which I feel like sounds really nice. The kidney and pancreas one, along with the rejuvenation and scalar waves. And I always do the auto, and sometimes I'll throw it in the chakras. So I've been doing that, but how would I don't feel like I would know when my kidneys or pancreas are feeling better.
Kidney insufficiency?
I was doing kidney general.
Yeah, do kidney insufficiency if you like the sound, because that will get your kidneys back into a state of health. It'll actually bring people's GFRs. We've had somebody with them is down as low as 12. Hers were pretty damaged. They wanted her on dialysis. She got them up to 28, and she was in her 90s, and she was happy with that. And she would just do her treatments at home, and she never got on dialysis, and died, I think, 8 years later from other natural causes. So in younger people where your kidneys aren't as damaged, you can have dramatic effects with your GFR elevation.
And so should you feel a difference to know when you're ready to move on to a different thing, or just is there a certain amount of time that if you're dealing with a kidney something that you should do it for a month or do it for?
So it's hard to tell if you're asymptomatic, if you didn't have any kidney symptoms. Like if you had kidney stones and we ran kidney stones frequencies on your kidneys, we would shatter them so small you wouldn't be able to catch them in a screen in 2 sessions, you know?
Wow.
So then you're good, it's time to move on. If you have a sprained ankle, we can put the cell exciters down in your sock, and after 4, sometimes 5 sessions, it is completely gone. With something like, that part of your body needs support, it's really hard to tell because I don't know how much support it needs. Unless you have a blood test, you can compare before and after, but it doesn't sound like you're having any major symptoms. If you have incontinence, 3 days, massive difference, but I would use it for 2 weeks. I have a lady that developed incontinence, and she thought she'd just got a machine. She thought it was the machine. I said, well, did you have it before? She goes, oh yeah, I guess it did. Did a lot of exercises the physical therapist or somebody gave her, and that helped some. I said, well, you still have incontinence. So she used the frequencies, and she used them about a week, and it's gone. So she's done with that thing. But a lot of women as they get older start suffering from some sort of incontinence, really effective with that. But with you,